At some point in your filmmaking career, you're going to be asked to film interviews, which requires editing down a long clip of loose points down into a short, cohesive story. This tedious skill set can be learned over time, but even though I've edited hundreds of interviews by now, I still find this process to be daunting. But recently, I came across an editing technique that has saved me both time and energy that I used to spend early on in the editing process. And now I'm able to speed up my editing workflow by beginning each project with this technique. And frankly, I wish I knew about this technique earlier. Normally when I start an interview edit, I drag the clip into my timeline and start listening to the entire video, listening for good sound bites that can be utilized within my edit. And this might be how you are editing right now. The problem that I find is that sometimes when I'm looking for a specific clip, I forget where it's at in the timeline, and I have to re-listen to that audio clip until I find it, bring it back in, and start editing. This, as you can imagine, takes up a lot of time and energy that I could have spent actually editing my piece. To help with this, sometimes I would write notes and the time code right next to it, which I could later reference so I knew exactly where that clip would be. But there's actually even a faster way to do this, and it's built into Premiere. And the feature that I'm referring to is the transcribing tool. This tool will listen through your whole edit and transcribe it into a word for word document. So like adding subtitles, but you can actually export out this text file into something like Google Sheets, and then I'm able to edit this video like a Word document. I can cut out the things I don't want to include, I can form new sentences, and string together a story word by word. Once I have this condensed script, I can then use this as a reference as I edit. Premiere even conveniently places the timecode next to each paragraph so you know where to find that exact line. I keep an open timeline with the full unedited interview just for this purpose. Now this technique isn't perfect. Sometimes it will misspell a name or it will break up a sentence kind of oddly, but since you know the context of the video, you can just ignore those things and use this as a guide to edit, since it won't show up in your final delivery. And I find this process a lot easier since it gives me a broad bird's eye view of what the interview is about. I'm able to digest the information more clearly, and then from there I'm able to build my story. I can cut the things I don't want to include, I can string together sentences, or just condense a story, and it's much easier than trying to listen through a clip each time, because that takes up extra time and energy that could be used actually editing your video, not just finding clips. So if you edit long interviews, give this technique a shot and let me know how it changes your workflow.